Next, I'd like to introduce Darcy Burke. Darcy was here last year, if you were here, you'll remember, and she spoke about a lot of the messaging behind droughts per se, and it went over really well. It was interesting. It's something we need to concentrate on. So Darcy is back, and she's going to be talking to us about the development and implementation of drought-related messaging. She's Director of Public Affairs at Municipal Water District of Orange County. Darcy, you can use this and take it out if you want.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm not tall enough to stand behind the podium, so I thought I'd step out a little bit. There's actually a method to the madness when you develop messages, and I know that people think that public affairs, people sit in the dark room, in the back, in the corner, and think, oh, that sounds really good. That's a catchy slogan. Let's try it. So I want to talk to a little bit about the method to the madness, because there actually is a method to the madness, but I want to go back in the history books for a minute. How many remember Mayor Bradley talking about when to flush the toilet in a drought? If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down, okay? So you saw news coverage of water. You saw outreach. You saw billboards. You saw radio. Water agencies and cities tend to outreach to public when you have a problem. Like you don't have enough water, or you're worried you may not have enough water, so therefore you want the public to respond to help you out. And typically we reward the public by doing what after they respond? Come on, we raise the rates. So don't they just love us? So I'm going to talk a little bit about a different way maybe to approach this, that you can repeat this method of madness, and it's more of a long-term engagement or conversation with the public, and not so much as, we need your help us now, and we'll reward you greatly later. Right? Okay, so today I'm going to tell you a little bit about who MoDOC is, the Municipal Water District of Orange County, and how we approached it with our member agencies and actually the 3 cities that we don't serve in Orange County, and did an external environment assessment, which most people think of great when you're going to enter the product world or marketing, but you don't typically think about that in communications. And then we're going to go over a little bit of the goals and the strategies and the tactics and hopefully the results that we're able to achieve. The Municipal Water District of Orange County is a MET member agency. We're the 3rd largest MET member agencies, and we serve 28 retail agencies, and we coordinate very well with the 3 cities that are in white, Santa Ana, Fullerton, and Anaheim. Orange County Water District, who is the groundwater basin manager in Orange County, is actually a member of MoDOC and buys a significant amount of water when available to replenish the groundwater. So although people may show their portfolios having, all this robust groundwater, Orange County Water District relies a lot on MoDOC and a representation at MET to secure affordable supply to recharge that groundwater basin. So we've been around for about 62 years. We have a 7 elected member board, and we have 4 directors at Metropolitan, including the chairman, Jack Foley. External environment assessment. How many of your customers know where their water comes from? Now, I just did a poll, so I really know the answer, but go ahead, tell me. How many people think their customers know where their water comes from? The faucet, exactly. So how often does it rain in Southern California? Not often. So all of a sudden, they don't see any difference of why all of a sudden you have a problem. Because it still hasn't rained in Southern California because they don't understand where their water comes from. So that's the first issue. Number 2, all of a sudden, now you're talking to them. Now you're visible. Now you want to talk about ways they can save. You may have enticed them with rebates. You may use words they don't know. First of all, they don't know acre feet. They don't care about acre feet, and they don't care how many acre feet you have. Means nothing to them. But we insist on speaking in water speak because that's how we speak. So now we kind of alienate them again because we're not speaking their language. And it's still not raining, and it didn't rain last year, and they don't see what the problem is. Now, we did a poll before we started this particular program I'm going to kind of integrate through the method, and we found out that Orange County residents hate, detest, despise the word conservation. How dare you tell me what to do? How dare you? And it's urgent. So we've decided after a long look at ourselves, that maybe water use efficiency is a better way to go, but when we need them to conserve immediately, when Deemer has a shutdown and has to do a repair, where there is a true emergency, where there's a pipe break, then we use the word conserve, and they know that it's immediate action. Just because you have a crisis does not mean that your public affairs team can sustain crisis communication for years. I'm sorry, the Delta has been broken since I got to Modoc. It was broken before that. How can you cannot sustain crisis communication for more than 2 weeks, which works perfect for a shutdown. So in our little environment assessment in Orange County, we realized that we had a problem with the Delta smelt, that our pumping was being restricted, and that was one element in which we needed to educate the public on why they needed to cooperate or help us out. Oh, but wait, there's more. Colorado River. Most people have no clue that Havasu was built as a reservoir. They thought it was built for their pleasure and enjoyment, let alone realizing that their water comes hundreds of miles to get there. So we had another additional element we had to educate them about. Oh, but wait, there's more. We had an extended drought in Northern California. Lake Orville, where the State Water Project exists. So we had all these elements that you as water managers are dealing with, coming up with creative new ways to get new supply, maintain your supply, but we also need to educate the public on why they want to participate in being more efficient for the long term, not the short term. So what did that mean to all of us? In Orange County, it meant that Metropolitan put us in allocations and said, we've got to reduce your demand by 10%. And you know, all the water managers I work with, not one of them could tell me when we could stop. They didn't give me a date. They didn't give me a time. They just said, we need to get the word out, and we need to cut back at least 10%. So do what you do for as long as you need to do it, and make sure it happens. Clear? Okay. The beauty about Orange County is we really are the family of Orange County water agencies. Yes, that means dysfunctional at times, and we fight. But we usually have great shared goals. So we decided the best way to do this, especially since we share a media market with LA, is that we needed to all be on the same page. And believe it or not, we did it. So I would encourage you, if you're developing a regional plan, that you all get on the same page, that you agree with what you're dealing with, that you agree what factors you're dealing with, and what your goals are. How convenient. Goals came right up. So the first one, you had to sustain it for the long term. Can't sustain crisis communication for more than 2 weeks, and not one person in my agency or Metropolitan could tell me what day this was going to end. So I anticipated it was going to go on for an extended period of time. Positive. You cannot sustain negative conversation. People don't want to be told what to do. Positive outreach attracts positive response because we want to engage them for the long term. In the end, we want them to invest in more water reliability projects so that when there's a dry period, extended dry period, or pumping restrictions, they're okay with it. They're engaged. Customized at the retail level. Well, why is that important? Because some agencies that have a robust water portfolio might say, we're just going to focus on outdoor landscaping issues, Darcy. We don't want you to do anything else. Another agency who may be solely reliant on imported water might say, wait a minute, we want to do everything. We want full loads of laundry. We want full dishwashers. We want them to invest in rebates. We want them to take turf out. We want them to only water certain days of the week. So it had to be customized at the retail level, and I can assure you none of the 28 did the exact same thing. It needed to focus on water use efficiency. From our own polling, we found that people responded to that. They could be good resource stewards. They understood to increase efficiency and why it's a good thing. It didn't talk about saving money. We're about saving water, and that was important. And we wanted to make sure we weren't using the word conservation unless it was a critical time and we were shutting things down. And we wanted them to know that we were committed to stewardship as much as they were, that it had to support that brand. Positive resource management. Weather resistant. How many? Well, it's raining now. What's the problem, Darcy? It's fixed. It rained 2 whole days. I had standing water in my yard. Did you see the storm drains? I don't understand what the problem is. It's fixed. So we had to make sure that it wasn't about the weather. It wasn't about, quote unquote, the drought, because one day of rain in Southern California fixes a drought. Not for what you think is reality. You're dealing with their perceptions. And in the end, my water managers asked me, reduce demand by 10%. However you're going to do that. Well, how are you going to do that? Now, any of you that know MODOC know there's one thing we don't like to do. Spend money. So I had to come up with a new way, a new strategy approach that was very cost-effective. Try like almost zero budget. So we decided to implement guerrilla marketing. Why guerrilla marketing? It's unconventional. It's unexpected. It's interactive. Minimal budget. That was my board's favorite part. Minimal budget. But what does it do? It requires your time. It requires energy. It requires innovation, imagination. All those things together equaled a regional message that was positive, sustainable, and adaptable or custom-made at the retail level. And that message was, dun-da-da-da, water. Do more with less. So this particular program is still in existence. It's not something that we shut down and didn't do for a long time. We may turn the volume up. We may turn the volume down. This particular regional program actually won the American Water Works Association Public Affairs Achievement Award. And when I gave a presentation at that conference and they asked me what my budget was, they laughed out loud at me. But it wasn't because of our budget. It was because we were able to do this in a coordinated, collaborative manner, and we engaged other people. But when you think about positive messaging, water's not the only one that has to ask people to be more efficient. But we loved this one. I had to show it. Denver Water. Use only what you need. So if you only need to sit on part of the bus, you sit on part of the bus. They actually have a car they drive around Denver that has no outside pieces because you don't need it. It has one seat. It doesn't even have a hood because only use what you need. Don't waste it. You may have even seen them on a national football game when the toilet is running down the field of the Broncos and they catch it. Stop a running toilet. See, it's humorous. You remember it. You don't forget. Again, part of public perception and outreach. But electric utilities have been doing this for a very long time. I want to be an electric utility. You know why? I want to convince people to not only pay more, but sign up to go without. I mean, that is an amazing feat. Somehow, they've convinced you that when you flex your power, you have control. It's the most amazing thing. How many people do you know that would sign up to go without water? It's never a convenient day, a convenient time. They don't like it. They call you, right? They call you. They don't like it. But the electric companies have convinced you that you will accept higher rates and voluntarily go without, and you feel like you are in control of the situation. You flexed your power, and now you're part of the solution. And that was really our goal. Have them feel like they're part of the solution, because you know what, in the end they are, because they vote. And when you want a big project, you need their support. And when you need them to cut back and be more efficient, they do. And if they can do it for a sustained amount of time, it's a new habit. It is the damnedest thing. People just love it. I'm sorry? I know. You have edit. Tactics. Okay, so I told you what our strategy was. I told you what our goals were. How did you do it? Because remember, I had no money. Public-private partnerships. I am not the brand that Coca-Cola is, or Nike, or Hurley, or Quicksilver. I know you all want to run out and buy a MODOC t-shirt, right? It's the coolest thing in town. I don't have what they call brand wealth. I'd like to think I do. In the water world, I probably do. But to the general public, they don't have a clue about that, except they get a bill from our member agencies. They don't get a bill from me, so I really have minimal brand wealth. But others do. Do you know that the fastest growing executive suite office in corporate America is the sustainability seat? Did you know that? More and more corporate businesses are investing in sustainability initiatives. So when you knock on their door and you say, hey, I need you to be more efficient in your manufacturing or your distribution, or I need your help, because if I have a secure water supply, I can secure that you can have jobs. And many of them answered. Community outreach. I know a lot of us do things normally. We might do a community fair or school fair or community event or different types of things, but I want you to think about it upside down for a minute. Where are all your families and friends and people going? That's where you need to be. Is it at the movie theater? Is it at the beach? Is it at the fair? You need to be visible and present, and you have to have a face. They can say, oh, that's the Modoc girl. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I'm not as exciting as the Hurley surfer guy, but at least we're a partnership, and they're helping with the message. Social media. How many of your agencies have Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram? How many of you know why they do? That's the question. Why are you there? Usually, it's because you want to engage in the conversation. And what does that conversation usually entail? That means I talk and you listen, and then you talk and I listen. So if you're not ready to hear what they have to say to you, don't enter the conversation. You cannot just be a presence in social media when you have something to say, because no one will follow you, no one will respond, and you'll lose credibility. I love when people say, oh, that's for my grandsons, they do that. Well, the fastest growing group in social media is 65 and older. And they tend to be the ones that answer our public polls. They tend to be the ones that vote regularly. So you need to be part of the conversation. But if you don't know why you're there, you don't know what you're going to say, and you don't know how to use it, stay out. Because it hurts you far more than it helps you. In the freeway complex fire, which was 5 years ago now in Yorba Linda, what was the number one way people found out where the fire was, where it was going, and how to get help? Twitter. Not Channel 4, not Channel 2, not Fox News, no, Twitter. If you want to be part of the conversation, you have to be ready and present all the time. And I am sure all of you have lots of great information to tell them, whether it's about a new water banking program, whether it's about climate change, whether it's a new factoid, the history of your organization. You can engage them in the long-term conversation on a myriad of things that you already have and do. But you cannot just use this when you need to make a point. And everybody thinks, oh, it's fine, we have social media. Well, if you don't know how to use it, it's no different than any other tool in your toolbox. The difference is social media is pretty inexpensive. It doesn't cost a lot. It takes some time, it takes some planning, it takes some strategy, but it's not like buying a television spot on the Super Bowl, which, yes, you get a great reach, but you have only one impression. So we had some strategic partners, and we were very fortunate that they engaged for the long term. And these are just some of the ones I wanted to point out. And Hurley in the middle, I cannot thank them enough. They actually embraced water use efficiency as their sustainability effort for the next decade. So not only did they invest and put in like a water use efficiency garden at their office, they make sure that they talk about fresh and clean water and the availability everywhere. They started looking at their manufacturing programs. They had a press event at the U.S. Surf Open 3 years ago, and they invited us to come talk about water, do more with less. I have never been at a press event for water that had a couple thousand people that were excited about it, that signed up to do things, that made a pledge to save water. Even if they didn't think about it because everybody else was doing it, they thought about it when they went home, and guess what? Hurley put their picture on Facebook and showed that I pledged to save 20 gallons a day. I pledge not to water my lawn when the sprinklers are on. It's those simple things, long-term engagement, And when they go around and they see their different surfer champions and different things, they're all talking about water use efficiency. I love to talk about water use efficiency. Nobody wants to hear me talk about it. They're very engaged. Listen to them talk about it. Jamba Juice had a community partnering program. So they said every time someone swipes the partnering card, we'll send money back to Water Do More with Less so you guys can do more activities. You can do more outreach. And what was the net cost to my ratepayer? 0. Because them telling our story is much more engaging, enriching, and effective than us telling our story. But that also means you have to listen to what they need to tell you, what their story is, and how you fit in. It's not a cookie cutter. Some of the stuff we did with Chapman University is not exactly what we did with Hurley. It wouldn't fit. It didn't make sense. So it takes some time. Back to the 3 elements of guerrilla marketing: time, energy, and innovation. They all have to be part of the conversation. So this is how we ended up. We actually reduced demand by 11%. We engaged a number of partners that we couldn't have done this without them. And the beauty was, when we did polling, Orange County residents did not like the stick. They did not want the water police. They did not want fines. They did not want the negative. They wanted to be told what to do in a meaningful and educational manner, or shown what to do, and they would do it, and they did. And so we were very, very fortunate that this all worked out. And it's an ongoing conversation. So when I need to turn the volume up, when things maybe are cut back again, I already have all these players in place to do so. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions. Are they ready for the test?
Good, and I've been watching it unfolding, and I've been interested in a lot of what's happened. But I'm curious, do you have some more metrics to say how effective, how much water is really being conserved or used efficiently? In other words, where do we actually stand?
Well, I can give you an example. In 2008, the total demand for Orange County was 699,000 acre feet, both imported, local, groundwater. We're at 609,000 as of last year. So I know the economy gets some credit for that too, but I really think it's because people are making investments. In our last poll that we finished 2 weeks ago, 43% of the people we asked said we'd already made investments. We've already taken out some of our lawn, or we've done other things. And I believe them.
Yes, you, in an oblique fashion, mentioned the elements of the conversation, which is a marketing model for nonprofits predominantly. Then you also mentioned the who, what, and how of the Golden Circle, which is a corporate. Would you, or is it possible that you could just briefly explain, do you use one or more, or are you using kind of a hybrid blend of both in your strategies?
Hybrid of both. When I have to do the corporate to entice the corporate to come to the table, and because we like to work on a minimal budget, the nonprofit model is perfect. So it is a hybrid.
Okay. Darcy, thanks so much.